30 times the size of the Nile River in Egypt. But of course, it's only 1/10 the size of the mother of all rivers in the world, the Amazon in South America. So we're going to take a little tour along in front of Royal Military College now. Those round gun towers work with a platform at the top of that round stone tower. And on that platform there were some heavy cannons on tracks so they could swivel and shoot and cover every part of the harbor from attack. They were designed after the War of 1812 because the British government still felt that there would be another attack by the United States. But it never came, so the Kingston fortifications evidently did their job as a deterrent from invasion. As we cruise along past Point Frederick, you keep looking to the left, you'll see a small bay opening up. At the head of the bay there is a white inflatable cover for the Royal Military College Cadet soccer field. And in that bay, called Navy Bay, during the War of 1812, was a very big Royal Navy dockyard. And in that dockyard they produced a number of large wooden sailing warships, including the largest sailing warship ever to launch on the Great Lakes, called HMS St. Lawrence. And for those of you nautical buffs, St. Lawrence was a 112-gun ship of the line, the same size and power as the famous Admiral Nelson's flagship Victory at the Battle of Trafalgar. She needed a crew of 900 men to sail and fight the guns. And when St. Lawrence was launched in September of 1814, the American Navy on Lake Ontario immediately retreated to its home port in Santa Harbor across the lake and never came out again during the war. Next to Navy Bay is the fortress on a hill. And that's called Fort Henry, a major British fortification that was begun in 1812 and not finished until 1848. It's open as a living museum today. You can walk in and the guides will show you around how the soldiers lived and worked. Most of it is invisible. It belongs to a period of military architecture when they sunk the walls into the ground to protect them from artillery fire. During the summer they have many events. They have their own fight band, marching band. They have precision rifle drill teams and field artillery drill teams. And they compete during the summer with American cadets from West Point and the United States Marine Corps itself. And quite often the Fort Henry Guard win the competition for bragging rights as the world's best precision arms rifle and field artillery drill. In the summer they have a sunset ceremony that lasts from about 4 in the afternoon until after dark. And it culminates in firing those big cannons you see on the walls. It's a wonderful event, well worth returning to Kingston. It's top tourist attraction in Kingston. On the left you see a smaller Marcello Tower. That's called the East Ditch Tower, and it protects what they call the East Ditch. There's another one on the west side on Navy Bay. And you can see the square loopholes let into it for rifle fire, protected against attack from the water side. As we swing around, over to the left you'll see a small island. That's called a Whiskey Island. And it's named that because during the Roaring '20s, when Prohibition was the rule in the United States and you could not sell liquor legally, that was a warehouse for smuggling from Kingston. A great many Canadian entrepreneurs made a lot of money smuggling whiskey and rum across the border in the 1920s. That was Al Capone's era in Chicago. The bigger island you see to the left now is Cedar Island. And on it is the third of those three gun towers. This one's called the Gas Tower. Cedar Island is the first of the Canadian National Park 1,000 islands. And it's open to the public all summer. It's free to go and camp fire on and picnic on. There's a fee if you stay overnight on the little docks they provide. Or you can swim, of course. You can only get there by boat, but if you do stay overnight, the fee is paid on the honor system, unlike many places in the world these days. You put your money in an envelope in a lockbox on the island, and every week or so, Canada Park staff come and pick it up. Nobody will ever know if you paid or not because there are no CCTV cameras on the island. But it seems people are honest enough to generate enough revenue to help keep the 34 islands in the National Park system alive and running. So straight ahead of you, you'll see a great big island. It's the one with all the wind turbines on it. And that's called Wolf Island. It's not called Wolf Island because of the ravaging wild beasts on it. It's named for a dead British general named James Wolfe. And General Wolfe died winning the last battle of the 10 Years' War of North America in Quebec City on the Plains of Abraham. And his opponent, French General Montcalm, also died of wounds sustained leading his troops. And 3 years later, the French colony of New France became the British colony of Quebec. I mentioned that the rock under Kingston is 400 million years old. The first human beings to see this place were indigenous. The four main cultures, the Haudenosaunee Iroquois, the Wendat Hurons, the Algonquins, and the Ojibwe Anishinaabe. And they all lived here apparently under a treaty they called the bowl with one spoon. A lovely metaphor for sharing in the bounty of nature in a peaceful way and equally. And they did so even though they were sometimes at war with each other elsewhere. They don't seem to have ever been at war here. And nature is truly bountiful. 1,000 years ago, this river and this lake were filled literally to overflowing with landlocked Atlantic salmon. 50-pound and 60-pound salmon. There were so many salmon that the farmers, the European farmers who arrived for almost 200 years, were able to pitchfork salmon out of the spawning streams. 300 pounds of salmon in a couple of hours' work, every night for weeks, every year for hundreds of years. But of course they ran out, and the salmon went extinct in 1900. But I'm happy to say that they discovered a very similar strain of salmon in a lake in Vermont, and they've restocked the lake in the Credit River west of Toronto, and they have a 30 years now of naturally cycling spawning stream. So when it to be 1,000, I expect to see the lake of the river filled with Atlantic salmon again. So Wolf Island is a big island. It's almost 30 kilometers long and 15 kilometers wide. There are 2,000 people living on the island full-time. The only way to get there, of course, is by boat. You can take the free ferry from Kingston, drive your car on, and drive around that beautiful island in the summer or the winter. It has a nice little town of Marysville that you can see just to the left now, with the big white ship in it. That ship is the new ferry, and it's all electric. We're hoping to replace the old ferry this year and hopefully reduce our carbon footprint. And of course, that's what the wind turbines do. For those of you who like numbers, there are 86 wind turbines on the island. And altogether, at peak power, they generate 56 gigawatt hours of electricity, which is enough to light and heat a town of 60,000 people. They went up about 15 years ago, not without a fight. Lots of people thought they spoiled the view. There were some who thought the generator noise would drive them crazy. There were some who thought that the electromagnetic fields would give them cancer, and the spinning blades would kill thousands of birds and bats. There was even a class action lawsuit from the American side of the river on the other side of Wolf Island, suing the Ontario provincial government for spoiling their view of Wolf Island. But the lawsuit failed, and they'll be good for another 5 to 10 years of green power generation. The little town of Marysville you see there is well worth a visit. Some nice little restaurants and bars with live music on the weekends. It's kind of a cultural center in the summer. They have music festivals and even a mystery writers festival. Most of the people who live on the island are farmers. They farm dairy cattle and beef cattle and cash crop corn. But there are many who just enjoy island life. Coming up to our left is another smaller island. This one's called Garden Island. And I mentioned the first Europeans to see this place, perhaps I mentioned, were French. Samuel de Champlain, a French explorer, came through here in 1615, and he wrote about the big beautiful islands in his journal. Garden Island, no doubt, one of them. Garden Island was first purchased and settled in the 1830s, and it's owned by an American entrepreneur named Calvin. Delano Dexter, D.D. Calvin for short, was in the timber trade. He sold oak barrel staves, such as those curved pieces of wood to make wooden barrels with, and he exported them to England, and then he went into the timber business, exporting huge sticks of timber, 4 feet square and 70 feet long. And then he decided he didn't want to pay other people to ship his goods, so he built himself ocean-going sailing vessels right here in Garden Island. One of them was a 3-masted 1,000-ton bark, and she sailed around the world's oceans for 30 years after leaving Kingston, and dozens of others were built here into the international ocean partnership trade. All those houses you see on Garden Island belong to Mr. Calvin, and they were for his employees and managers. There were 750 men on the island at the peak of his work. And he had his own post office and his own grocery store. He had his own customs office. He had his own library for his workers with 5,000 books in it. And he printed his own money for 30 years on the island as well. He was a great friend of Canada's first Prime Minister, Sir John MacDonald. They were both conservative voters, and naturally, all 750 men on the island working for Mr. Calvin also could be depended upon to vote conservative. Direct descendants of Mr. Calvin own the whole island to this day, and they rent out those cottages and houses to Kingstonians for the summer. sure he doesn't